Hi, this is lesson number 8 in the Fine Arts Music Lectures. We're going to talk about the brass family of instruments today. Before we get started, reminder that you should be writing all of these notes down in your notebook so you can have them for reference in class and at home. So here we go. Let's get started. The agenda for today, we're going to talk about how brass instruments produce sound, and then we're going to sort of talk about each of the major brass instruments in a little more detail, starting with the trumpet, then the French horn, the trombone, the tuba, and then we're going to talk about the concept of a conical versus a cylindrical instrument. Just a reminder that with all these videos where we are talking about the instrument families, there will not be audio clips here because we'll be listening to the audio clips together in class. So here we go. Let's get started. So brass instruments produce sound by buzzing their lips, people buzzing their lips and blowing through a mouthpiece. So that's basically how it goes. You buzz your lips like this, and you buzz into a mouthpiece that looks kind of like this. It ends up looking like this. So buzzing your lips like this, and then buzzing it into a mouthpiece. So there you go, and then you stick that mouthpiece into an instrument of various sizes, and then you get some music. So there you go. We're going to start out with the trumpet. The trumpet is the highest pitched brass instrument. There's a picture of it right down there. So there you go. It has 3 valves. Has a very brilliant high-pitched sound. Brilliant meaning very sort of strident and can be very intense. Excuse me. It's a very interesting sound. Here's a picture of Louis Armstrong playing the trumpet. He was one of the most famous jazz trumpet players of all time. Trumpet is also, of course, used in the orchestra. It's a very widely recognized instrument. Okay. Next one is the French horn. And the name French horn is actually kind of a misnomer because not all French horns are actually French. Some of them are made in America, some of them are made in Germany or Canada or lots of other places. But the instrument that you see here is commonly known as the French horn. It's similar in range and sound to the trombone, but it's a little more high-pitched, and it is a conical instrument, so it has a very warm, beautiful sound, and I'll talk about what conical means in just a minute. But French horn has very mellow, beautiful sound, and when someone plays the French horn, they actually put their right hand part of the way inside the bell of the instrument. The bell is that flaring part of the end where the sound comes out. That's so they can adjust how the sound comes out of the bell. And as you can see, the French horn is a little bit different than the trumpet and the trombone in that instead of having the sound go forward away from your face, the sound actually sort of goes backwards. So it's interesting for that reason. So there you have it. Next instrument is the instrument that I play. It's personally my favorite brass instrument. It's the trombone. It generates sound by moving a slide. All these other brass instruments that we've seen so far have valves of some sort. Most of them have 3 valves that you press down to get in different combinations to get different notes. But the trombone has a slide that you move instead of those valves. It's a cylindrical instrument, so it has a little more of a brilliant sound, similar to that of a trumpet, only it is lower. So it's a very clear and focused sound, like it says there. So that's the trombone. Here is a picture of some guy playing the trombone. There you go. Just like the trumpet, the bell points outwards and the sound goes directly away from your face. So there you have it. All right, and then the last of the major brass instruments that we're going to talk about today is the tuba. The tuba is the largest brass instrument. It's very big. It's the foundation of the orchestral sound, part of the foundation of the orchestral sound. A really giant instrument, a very beautiful instrument. And it's conical and makes a very, very deep sound. We'll be listening to some examples of tuba playing in class, as well as the others. Here's some guy playing a tuba. This tuba actually, if you look really closely, has 4 valves. Most of them, they have at least 3, but many have 4. So for different, to get even more different combinations to play different notes. So as you can see, the tuba is really large. It sits in your lap, and the sound sort of goes up. But it's such a big, beautiful bass sound. It can just sort of fill up the room wherever you are. It's a really, really cool thing. So let's talk about the difference between conical and cylindrical instruments. So brass instruments are either going to be conical or they're going to be cylindrical. So a conical instrument is one that is roughly shaped like a cone. That's where conical comes from, cone. So that means it starts small, where the mouthpiece is, where you blow into it, buzz your lips into the mouthpiece. Starts small and then gradually gets bigger over the course of the instrument, and that provides a sort of warmer and more gentle sound. And that's contrasted by the cylindrical instruments that are shaped more like a cylinder. So it stays just about the same size almost the whole way of the instrument, almost the whole length of the instrument, and then it flares out at the very end for the bell. So when an instrument is cylindrical, it has a little more of a edgy, aggressive, or brilliant sound. Here's a little picture to show you sort of what that looks like. You'll notice that on both instruments there's a bell still, so there is a flare, because you might be thinking, well, how can I tell the difference? Because they both have that part that flares out at the end like a cone. But it's a little more of a subtle difference than that. If you look at the top, the cylindrical stays the same diameter throughout the whole instrument there until the very end, where it flares out to the bell. And then the conical one starts small and then gradually over the course of all those curves gradually gets bigger. So that's the difference. They both have that bell at the end, but it's the sort of, the most of the length of the instrument. Cylindrical, it stays the same, and conical, it gradually gets a little bit bigger. So I mentioned a few of these earlier, but just so you know, you should definitely know these, is that conical instruments, ones that are shaped more like a cone, include the French horn, the tuba, and the cornet. Cornet is kind of like a trumpet. We didn't really talk about it much here, but it's like basically a conical version of a trumpet. It was very popular in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And then cylindrical instruments are trumpet and trombone. So those have a little more of an edgy sound and a more sort of clear, brilliant tone to them. So there you go. That's the difference between conical and cylindrical. Just to recap what we talked about today, we talked about how brass instruments produce sound, which is buzzing your lips into a mouthpiece, and then the mouthpiece goes into a brass instrument. The 4 instruments we talked about were trumpet, French horn, trombone, and tuba. And then we talked about the difference between conical and cylindrical bored brass instruments. So that is it for brass. Next video we're going to talk about percussion and keyboard instruments. So see you next time.